Welcome to System Dynamics Online Tutorials. In this session we're going to cover the Machine Load Summary inquiry under the Capacity Planning suite of applications within Dynamics 3i. When this application is first entered into, we are automatically put into a query mode. And what this application allows us to do is, by work center and for a given warehouse from a certain date, throughout in the future for a number of weeks. It allows me to see all of the capacity and the scheduled load, the potential load, and the total load, and then a breakdown calculation of available, any overload percentage, and a quick picture of percentage available of everything that's occurring on that particular work center over the course of the number of weeks out. This can be run for real or simulated data. It's looking at the master production schedule to look at the potential load or planned load that's coming down the line for this particular work center. Scheduled load is looking at actual work orders that are out on the system. So this all hinges on the requirements explosion being up to date and allows the system to quickly look at the machine load on the manufacturing line. So if I wanted to actually query some information here on the work center, I could use a list of values to see all of the valid work centers that I have. So let's just assume I wanted to see the machine load on the filler. The system will then ask me for what warehouse, because I can have different warehouses doing manufacturing. Again, I can use a list of values to pull all of the valid warehouses that actually are within the system, and I can choose our production warehouse here. Now the system's asking me, what date do you want to analyze this for? Where do I want to see the load, or where from what date forward? So we can actually look from the beginning of February, and the number of weeks out is from this date. How many weeks out do I want to look? So if I put say 3 weeks, I just want to see the load inquiry or summary for the first 3 weeks of February. Then simply all I do here is execute, and I'll explain what this particular checkbox does afterwards. If we execute the query, a couple of things happen. First of all of the records for the 3 weeks out, week number 1, 2, and 3, are displayed as queried down the bottom in the detail block. Now the from date has actually changed. The coordination between this from date and the week ending is this will always start on a Sunday as a start date, and the week ending will always be a Saturday week ending date. So no matter what date that I put in here, the system will automatically go back to the very first Sunday and calculate forward this number of weeks out with the week ending dates populating, and these will all be Saturday ending dates. So it's important to note that no matter what date I put in here, which is why I put the 1st of February, it came back to the very first Sunday and then went 3 weeks forward. Analyzing the bottom section of this particular inquiry, the pertinent information about the work center will be displayed here. The capacity of the work center as defined on the work center file maintenance. Scheduled load is any work orders that are already within the system that are going down through this work center. So we can see in the very first week there is no work scheduled against this work center for the week ending of the 2nd of February, and so it's 100% available. There is some activity in the second week, and the scheduled activity is 8.7 odd hours, and there is a potential, so there's some planned suggestions out in the system on the master production schedule, which would send potential work orders down this line, and there's about 5.25 hours. These two, scheduled load plus my potential load, is going to equal my total load against the system as it stands right now. The available is, of course, calculated as a result of all three of these, the total load, and I got 31.24 as a result of this scheduled load coming off of the available load and this capacity. The percentage available is calculated out, so I've got on this particular one with activity, I got 78.1% available. As this actually goes down, the overload percentage will come up. So when this hits the magic 0% available, the overload percent will start increasing. So it will very quickly tell me the work centers down here as time goes on that I'm overloading by 1%, 2%, 10%, etc. Now, this particular calculate by total load flag, all that does is based on the calculation for available, overload, and percentage available. I either want to use this total load value here in order to come up with my overload percentage and my percentage available, or I want to use the scheduled load, actual firm work orders out in the system. If I click this before I actually execute this query and go calculate by total load, it will use this 14.4 within the calculation of this percentage here. If I leave it blank, I'm only looking at the scheduled load. So if I actually redo this query, again, we'll do it for 700, and we will do it for OM. We'll do from the 1st of February, and we'll go out 3 weeks, and we'll calculate by total load. Before it was calculated by this scheduled, and we'll look at total load, and we'll simply execute that. And we'll notice now that my percentages have changed. My available is at 25.99 hours, and my percentage available dropped from about 78% to about 65%. That's because now I'm using this particular total in my calculations instead of my scheduled or my firmed actual work orders. So I'm blending these two, my scheduled load, my potential load, together and coming up with these values and percentages over here. And that concludes the machine load summary inquiry.